All right, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a special occasion. This is my first donation deck list. The first Brewer Baron has shown his face and sent me this sweet, sweet list. So let's dive into it. Yeah, as you can see, this is a vintage deck. This is a Lurrus companion deck. This is the banned colors. And we have a lot of synergies in this deck. So first I want to mention that I removed one card from the deck, and I changed one land in order to accommodate that switch. I found room for a mental misstep. And yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, I guess we should address the fact that we're running Phyrexian Dreadnought. Phyrexian Dreadnought is a card that has seen play for decades, still sees play in Legacy, still sees play in Pre-Modern. And this card is basically, you need some kind of stifle effect. So what kind of stifle effect can we play in Vintage that also has some crossover use? And it looks like Doorkeeper Thrall is one of the answers to that question. Doorkeeper Thrall is a card that, while in play, while, just being a creature, you can replay it with Lurrus, will make the Dreadnought stick around, which is quite useful. And it can also, do some disruption on the side of the opponent, like disrupt some One Ring, some Jewels, some, Orcish Bowmasters, Thassa's Oracle. I'm sure the list is longer. Initiative creatures. So pretty cool innovation there. Then there's a couple of dress downs. Kind of the same thing. It's a stifle effect that has other uses. Shuts down a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned, alongside killing opposing saga tokens, even though that's not really a big thing anymore. That was like the first combo of the deck. Then we're running a little bit of a consistency card here in Oswald Fiddlebender. For those who played Modern a decade ago, this is like an artifact birthing pod. You sacrifice an artifact, and then you search for an artifact that costs one more. So you can turn your Moxen into a Needle, Mox into Soul Guide Lantern, Mox into Vexing Bauble to protect some combo, Mox into Portable Hole, or the 1-drops into Time Vault. So worth noting is there's no Voltaic key or Manifold key in the deck, but yeah, of course, there's a reason for that as well. So let's move on to this card, Epheto Alchemist. Good old Onslaught Uncommon Wizard here. I remember opening this back in the day, like in my drafts, etc. It wasn't particularly strong back then, but I guess the more stuff you have to untap, the more impactful it becomes, and Time Vault definitely qualifies. So this is a blue card, pitches to Force of Will, is a creature, and will go infinite with Time Vault. Pretty cool. Another combo with that card is Legolas's Quick Reflexes. So we play this card. This does a lot of double duty. Protects your Dreadnought, makes your Dreadnought kill opposing creatures, but it also combos with the Alchemist here, because you then go Legolas's Quick Reflexes onto the Alchemist, and then you can just start untapping itself here, and every time you tap it for the activated ability, you can ping for damage. So let's see if that comes up. That would be pretty cool to wipe my opponent's board with Legolas's Last Reflexes and the Wizard. What else do we have here? We have 2 Cups of Well Rested, another not exactly conventional choice for Vintage. So 2 mana, enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature has, whenever this creature becomes untapped, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, then you gain 2 life and draw cards. So once more, awesome with the Alchemist. And yeah, I'm just looking to hopefully do some nasty things with that card throughout these games. Lavinia, good protection, shuts down opposing decks, shuts down, free counter magic. The Tinker, I imagine, will only be like a second Time Vault in the deck, and I think that's fine. Force of Will rounds out the deck. Ponder, another consistency card. Sideboard looks a bit more like something we normally see. Containment Priest for, Graveyard and Oath. A little bit of, an artifact that also shuts down Oath. That's pretty cool in your Fiddlebender Saga deck. Some more Graveyard hate. Plows against, the Psychic Frogs of the world. Deafening Silence against Jeweled and Doomsday. And another 2 copies of Mindbreak Traps against the same kind of decks where we're looking for time in order to not get, destroyed before we assemble our amazing combo. Oh, last card I forgot. Curie Emergent Intelligence. 1/3. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card each equal to its base power. So this card is a card that also combos with Dreadnought, with the second ability. 1 and a blue, exile another non-token artifact creature you control, and then it becomes a copy, except then you draw 12 instead, right? So a little bit of a cool combo sprinkled in there. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to give this deck a whirl. I will say before we start that this is not typically the stuff that I'm looking into when I'm playing Magic, and that's the beauty of it, right? We all play Magic for different reasons. We like to do different things, and the innovation, the creativity simply cannot be understated when it comes to a game like Magic. Like, there's so many cards that are fun to play with, and that's why we started playing Magic to begin with. So I could definitely relate to the whole let's try a bit more unconventional way of winning games of Vintage, because it will feel pretty darn good to beat, a serious tier 1 deck with some, off meta choices here. So that's the goal for today, to see if we can take a dub off of established deck. And with that being said, let's get to it. All right, guys, quick message here. If you want to have access to my deck guides, my strategy articles, whether you want to pitch me a sweet deck to play on the channel, whether you want to look into coaching, or simply just want to say thank you for the content I put out, please check out my Patreon below and become a Baron today. Now, let's get back to the games. All right, here are round 1. I'm playing Banned Lurrus, courtesy of Patrick S. from my Patreon. Pretty cool stuff. And yeah, the hand is keep. Let's try and think about how to play this out. We're playing in the dark, so I can't do anything fancy with Needle here, so I think I just protect my mana with Misty Rainforest Go. And I hope bad things don't happen. I have a pretty cool setup here with some good answers and a somewhat fast Dreadnought, so let's see. My opponent obviously has the info that I'm a Lurrus deck, and I have the info that my opponent is not a Lurrus deck, so there's a little bit of info there. Now we can cross Dredge and Mono White Initiative off, and I'm looking at stuff like the Grixis Breach deck. This is like the most likely deck that my opponent is on right now. Land Ponder definitely pushes me further in that direction. I'm interested which enabler I'm playing on next end step. The Thrall dies to removal. Because I feel like I am going that direction, even though I just drew a Ponder. Let's say my opponent had played out a Mox proactively. I could have gone, Ponder, take the best of the 3, fetch for white, kill the Mox, but they didn't, so I think I'm supposed to play like this. Also worth noting, that deck has a few copies of Fatal Push. Here's Mox. That Mox represents Hull Breacher. So I think now I'm supposed to play the Dress Down, because then... Oh, what's this? This could be... Yeah, I don't know what this is, actually. Ancestral Recall, sure. Huh. My opponent decided to fight there. Now what? Vampiric Tutor to not go to cleanup? I mean, this is super scary. Because I'm probably getting tinkered with Force Backup next turn. So let's go for that one. My opponent does not have mana up for removal right now, so is that an argument for Thrall, or do I prioritize digging one card deeper with Dress Down? I actually believe I want to dig one card deeper because I really want to find a Force of Will, so I can go Portable Hold the Mox and have a Force of Will alongside developing the Dreadnought. Interesting stuff. This could be too big of a mouthful, but let's see. Brainstorm. Brainstorm is not bad. Am I willing to brainstorm to fix my hand here? I think I am. Because if I hit any land or a Mox, I can still do all the stuff that I want, and I get more looks at, finding counter magic. Did not find counter magic. Can I do anything smart with this Needle? Right now, the Thrall doesn't do much, and the Alchemist doesn't do much. I like some of these other cards. So maybe I go put those back. Cast a Ponder to most likely shuffle. Or if there's a Force of Will, the third card down, I'll keep it as well. No Force of Will, but there's a Dreadnought. The biggest problem is, I think I'm in trouble next turn, and the double Dreadnought is not what I want here, so I'm going to shuffle. There's Lavinia, a bit too late. I think that would have been awesome against, you know, the Tinker Citadel line that I believe is coming. So let's go Portable Hole on the Mox and then go Dreadnought. Interesting turn. So that card is gone. Play Dreadnought. And yeah, that's all I can do. My opponent with full grip, having just resolved Ancestral Recall and Vampiric Tutor. I'm scared now. I tried my best to sculpt looking for stuff like Force of Will, but yeah. Didn't work this time. Oh, we just get breached here. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I really wanted to play that Lavinia out, but that wasn't possible this time around. So we're going to get breached here, and not much we can do about that. Okay, so we're playing against Grixis Breach, so I definitely want some light, let's say, graveyard hate. I'm not big on Needle here. We can cut that card. That's a pretty easy swap for Lantern. The cool thing about Bobble is it actually prevents the whole replay Lotus all over. I do like the silence here. Maybe Tinker is not where I want to be. My opponent also doesn't have that many creatures, so maybe the Reflexes are what I'm looking to cut. Let's see here. Do I care about Plows? I don't think so. I mean, if my opponent plays a Hull Breacher, it's annoying because I want to, you know, I don't want to get draw 7'd, but it's not like the end of the world. Does that warrant a couple of Plows? I like everything that's going on in the deck right now. The question is, do I want more graveyard hate? Let's see. A card like Cage, I think, is a bit too much. Hole is good. Every way to cheat a Dreadnought is good. All blue cards are fine. Well rested is like an engine with a Feto Alchemist if I get it going. Maybe I just keep the Tinker and add like a single Plow. I think that's fine. Yeah, okay. Let's try again. I mean, playing against, no matter what deck you're on, you're going to have trouble beating Ancestral Recall, Vampiric Tutor, turn 2 kill, so I'm not too worried about that. This is a cool hand, right? Lots of stuff going on here. So, definitely Silence Sense says non-creature. That's definitely something. I think I'm supposed to do everything turn 1 here with Lurrus. Yeah, I think I like that. So my opponent basically needs a Force of Will for the Lurrus, or I'm going to have, you know, a pretty sweet turn 1. No reason to fetch now, I believe. So let's go Lurrus to hand, Black Lotus, play Lurrus, play Lotus, play Fiddlebender, play Silence. Okay. Pretty nice turn. Yeah, can't really complain about that. Definitely Silence, make sure we're playing at my pace. So right now, my opponent needs, like, fetch land, push away the Lurrus, or, you know, lightning bolt the Lurrus, or the game is very, very much in my favor. Here's Cataction Probe, which is, remember, my opponent's spell for the turn. Worth noting is you can only activate Fiddlebender as a sorcery, so let's say some bad things happen on upkeep. I can't respond. Good thing is, if my opponent targets Fiddlebender, I can replay it. So, let's see. Yeah, here comes the removal, unfortunately. But it has to kill Lurrus, so that is, you know, That is something. Here comes the removal. That card down. I draw Dress down, which funnily enough lets me build a Dreadnought. I'm just going to check the deck list here. So I can turn a 0 into a 1. That card is not in the deck. That card is... turn a 0 into a 1. I think I'm just supposed to get a Dreadnought here. So how does that work? I think I have to... let's see. I have to activate Hold Priority. Then I have to Dress down. Draw a Portable Hole, which is probably a decent draw. Then I go for a Dreadnought, and I play a land, and I pass the turn. Okay, so now we're putting on pressure while under the Deafening Silence, and I'm threatening a little bit of stuff with the Fiddlebender. Also, if my opponent spends the turn developing a Mox, I can kill it with Portable Hole, which is quite strong. I will say my opponent is a Dak Faden deck, actually. I just thought about that now, which is probably not the right moment to think about that. And I brought out Needle. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, this is not good. Yeah, that tutor probably went and found, Dak Faden. No Surveillant in the deck, so we just take the turn here. I'll have to look at the deck list once more. So I'm getting stacked next turn, most likely. Needle's out there in the sideboard laughing at me. What do I do when I get dacked? Yes, I just, kill my own Dreadnought, kill... Yeah, it's probably not that bad. I guess let's attack for 14. So my opponent now needs a non-fetch. That's actually huge. Because my opponent only has a fetch, I kill them with Fiddlebender. So we have a little bit of a chance here. Okay, I guess we don't. I'll probably get dacked here. Sad I didn't think about that, play pattern coming up. My opponent takes the 12-12. I should probably thin with one of my lands here, since I have the second one lying around. What can we draw? That's actually not a bad one. So now next turn I have infinite turns. That's pretty strong, because I can Fiddlebend my Portable Hole into a Time Vault and then have infinite with a Fedo. I guess we just play Portable Hole here on the Dreadnought. There's also some funny synergies with Portable Hole. Let's say this Portable Hole gets sacrificed later, then I get it back. Then if I've drawn, something like a Dress Down or a Roll in the meantime, then I'm keeping the Dreadnought. Yeah, I guess we just play it like this. Could have played it face down. Unclear if that's good. I'm going to kill the Dak Faden here to give my opponent as little digging power as possible. I feel like that's a reasonable way to play. I still have lethal in play, not through a blocker, though. But I'm not giving my opponent, multiple draws at finding, said creature or removal. So what now worth noting is a Fedo dies to Pyroblast. And my opponent passed a turn here, which makes me a little bit worried. Just a tiny bit worried. I should probably go for it here. What's the punishment of going for it? If I get Pyroblasted here... But I would have gotten Pyroblasted anyway, and then I attack my opponent down to... Yeah, I think I just go for it here. Let's see. Tap like this. Getting back the Dreadnought, as I talked about. Can't really use that right now. And now my opponent knows I'm going for a 2-costed artifact. So if they know what's good for them, they probably do something about this. But also remember, they can only cast one spell, so maybe they're like second-guessing themselves here a little bit on the Dreadnought, but I don't know about that. I'm just going to go for the Time Vault here and try and beat a hand with, you know, Force of Will, Hull Breacher, stuff like that. Breach combo pieces. Ooh, okay. That card gets killed, so I guess I untap my Fiddlebender here. Sadly, this is only sorcery speed, otherwise I could have gotten a little bit of value here out of the good old untap. Yeah, cancel. So now I get to search for the 2-drop, and this is where it comes up that the 1-drop is not in the deck. Oh crap, this is an artifact. That's pretty sweet. I didn't think about that. Okay. Is that card better than a Naked Time Vault? Probably. Nice. That's an artifact. Okay. That's not bad. And then I play this out because of the silence, and then I attack with Fiddlebender because now my opponent actually has to spend a Lotus to block with Hull Breacher. So let's try that. My opponent has a Hull Breacher. It is what it is. I trade and take care of the Lotus. And then hopefully clearing the way for this Curie. My opponent's thinking twice about that and decides not to go for it. Okay, interesting. So I feel like my opponent's way into this game is Hull Breacher plus Wheel. But let's see. Looks like the 1 Dreadnought swing was very, very good this game. Okay, so that card getting Pyroblasted is annoying, and then my opponent needs another removal or a flash blocker to take care of the Oswald. I'm of course going to ask my opponent that question. I can't just sit around. Vexing Bauble is not bad. It is a cycle card. Did I bring in any plows? Can't see that here. I need to right click. I did bring in 1 plow. But if I play this, I don't have any more spells to play anyway, so I think I might as well attack first. My opponent will flash in the Hull Breacher, kind of as expected, so that's why we slow rolled our Vexing Bauble. So that we can draw with Hull Breacher off the battlefield. Okay, our opponent's had 1. We have their broken plan shut down. Vexing Bauble. We cycle right away because we play, you know, creatures like Lavinia and the Untapper. Draw into a Tundra. Let's hang on to that for brainstorm purposes. Okay, so maybe there's some kind of game to be played now with the opponent at 1 life. The opponent did a good job with the Demonic Tutor Dak. I didn't see that coming during sideboarding, but that was, you know, a reasonable counterplay. Opponent plays out a land. I would love to draw a creature. That is a creature. And it can kind of take my opponent by surprise if I wait. But if my opponent goes 5th land past, then I can get forced. What's most important? What is most important? I actually feel like it's most important to... maybe not. Maybe just the fact that my opponent has so many cards like, you know, Ponder mainly. Yeah, and now they don't have a spell, so I can flash it in. And then they need a removal spell on my turn, or I win the game. I think this is more, you know, more clutch rather than showing my plan, but could be a close decision. Here comes Doorkeeper Thrall. My opponent needs another removal, a Braid, Bolt, Push, or I take care of business here. Draw another brick, so I kind of have to finish this off. Here's a Braid. Opponent gave me the draw step. Just imagine this was the Force of Will. I have to pass the turn back here. So we got to do our Dreadnought. We got to threaten Time Bolt combo. We got to use Lurrus. We're shutting down our opponent's combo potential, but I'm still not winning. That's not a good sign. Yeah, this is not what we need to close out the game. Incredibly bad draws here. The thing about when your opponent had 1, any card like Lavinia, Thrall, any random creature is just threatening lethal. But I think in Vintage, it's very rare that you can, in the mid game, draw 3 lands in a row and win a game. Like that's gonna be tough. That's just how Vintage works, especially when the opponent has a Sensei's Divining top out, right? Can we do it? Also, funnily enough, if I draw an Alchemist, I'm supposed to play it for Morph. Ooh, this is a good one, except my opponent plays Hullbreacher. But I don't think I should play around more Hullbreachers here. My opponent will just, you know, play it end of turn anyway, so let's cast a Brainstorm. Okay, so I find 2 live cards. Let's get rid of the 2 lands. And let's play Lavinia. That was a pretty good Brainstorm. I would have imagined I would get Pyroblasted any day of the week on the Brainstorm. Is this a... No, this is not a Dig Through Time. This is a Mana Drain. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. My opponent and I are cut from the same cloth here. That's amazing. Mana Drain. Oof, I remember as a kid when I was, you know, working a small job, saving up for my Power 9 and my Vintage cards. When I got my first playset of Mana Drain to, you know, upgrade my Landstill deck, I felt like a champ. I felt like nobody could beat me. Then I think the first piece of power I bought was Ancestral. Then I got Library because it was so good at the time. And then I got Sapphire. And then I got Walk. And then I got the big Lotus to round out the deck. And then I maybe Mox Ruby afterwards. Here's Ursus Saga. And I think this Thrall has to go the distance or I'm in trouble. Don't force me, bro. I'm getting forced. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So now, I don't know. Maybe draw the blue untapper? Oh, I forgot to fetch! No! I threw the game. Or I didn't give myself a good enough chance to win. No, I talked too much about 25 years ago. Ah, that sucks. Yeah, that's definitely on me. I should have fetched there. Then I got a random draw instead of a guaranteed crapper. Ugh. Magic is too hard. My opponent's Saga goes to 2. Here's a Brainstorm that I definitely know the power of that card. I actually think the idea in this art is insane. Look at it. So it's like a storm, and then it's like a big brain in the clouds. That's something I sometimes do with my kids. It's like we just lie on the grass and look at the clouds, and then we just see different things. I think that's actually a pretty sweet metaphor for, you know, how to see the world in general. That it's in the, what do you call it? The eyes of the beholder. I don't know the English term, but but it's just a very humbling experience. Okay. Not good. So now my opponent will most likely bury me. I'm sad I didn't fetch that freaking land. Then I would at least have had, a random draw at it, random crack at it. So my opponent stabilized at 1. I didn't do my best job of, having as high odds as possible to get there with the non-fetch. And the timing on the thrall was also a bit... I don't know. There's some world where at that point I should tell myself, look, my opponent is more likely to have Force of Will past the turn than a removal spell, so I should just play it and hope for the best. Like on my turn, before my opponent had Hardcast Force. Because they cannot pitch Force. That's actually a big one. That's the big reason to do that, is my opponent already played a couple of removal spells, and they played 0 forces. Ancestral Recall is one of the best draws, but I'm still under the Deafening Silence, which is kind of ironic. Let's see if I get shut down here by something. I don't. So there's a Plow, and unfortunately there's a Tinker. Maybe, just maybe, there's a chance. So I'm going to Plow one of those guys, and then I'm going to bluff Tinker away the Jet. And hope my opponent has 0 answers and concedes because they think I have a key. That's my best chance right now. This was a pretty sick game. Just having this card in play, I feel like this card might have potential in the format in general, where if you force these, Jewel, Doomsday, Breach decks to only play 1 spell each turn, then you should definitely have a deck where you can take advantage of that over time, right? It doesn't take much. You just need, like, some creatures. By the way, my opponent went up to 6 there. Pretty annoying. My opponent gets in for 4. I buy myself some time that may or may not be valuable. Here's a Ponder. Not going to give my opponent a turn. What can we draw? I love that my opponent put Mana Drain into that deck. Unfortunately, that Force of Will is not helping me here. Let's cast Tinker. So if my opponent counters it, fine. If my opponent concedes, even better. If my opponent lets me find a card here, annoying. So this reminds me of back in the day, people were kind of thinking about, oh, maybe you don't have to play Berserk in your Cunning Wish sideboard, or maybe you don't have to play Tendrils in your Burning Wish sideboard, because people will concede. And that is definitely what I'm hoping for here. Doesn't look like it, though. This looks like a negation to me. Sink into Stupor. Targeting Tinker. Sure. So funnily enough, that is a Time Walk at this point. So now, because of that, I play out land. Because now I have a Hardcast Force of Will for my opponent's turn. And there is a world my opponent's going to concede to the Phantom combo here. I'm saying there's a chance. I'm pretty happy I got this one on camera. Turn 14. Oof. Singing to Stupor, very, very annoying card when you're playing under the Deafening Silence and getting hit by Construct. Opponent with the attack. I I just have a feeling my opponent's going to make me play this one out, and that's not going to be good for me. Nope. I draw another Force of Will to rub it in. I cast Tinker. Opponent draws off top. That is obviously going to be an answer for Tinker. But funnily enough, this is a card you can actually play on your opponent's creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature becomes untapped, put 2 counters on it, then you gain 2 life. So now I should actually do that. No, I can't, because of silence. Never mind. But it was actually, if it's only attacking me for 1 turn before I have to find the win, it's just a wash between the 2 counters and the 2 life. So it would actually be just, draw a card here. Top resolves. That makes the construct into a 4/4. Then I get attacked down to 1, which is funny. And then I have to find something. Turn 16. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Gotta love it. Great match here to start out the video. I was pretty happy with, I put together some synergies. I put my opponent under pressure. I'm sad I didn't fetch to give myself, 1 more random draw instead of a bad draw. But otherwise, I think I played pretty well with the cantrips, like under the sense of urgency, the game 1. And then this game, it was kind of on me because I had an impressive turn 1. But I couldn't quite follow up and quite shut down my opponent. And yeah, I mean, my opponent came back like a champ here. 3 clutch Pyroblasts, Saga doing work, Dak Faden doing work, and yeah. Pretty sweet start. Let's keep it going. All right, guys. Round 2. I'm playing Banned Lurrus, courtesy of Patreon subscriber Patrick S. And this, I don't know what to make of this hand. Like, it looks like it should be good, but it really isn't. I guess there's some potential with the Time Vault. Tinker is my force fodder. And yeah, I guess we just play out some mana sources and, see what kind of draws we're getting. This was kind of my biggest fear about the deck, that you would have, these cards that aren't individually strong, which is a big part of how I approach Magic in general, that I really enjoy cards that are just good on their own. Like, sure, don't get me wrong, I like synergies a lot, but I like standalone threats a lot. Playing out Land Lotus here. The Heath maybe will let my opponent, tip my opponent that I don't play a Force of Will deck, who knows? But then again, why would I keep a 4-mana turn 1 hand with no Force of Will? I do know about the Lurrus, and now I know about their deck. Let's see if it's Sphere Shops or Jewel. My sideboard is very weak to Sphere Shops. It's a bit better against Jewel. Here's Soul Ring. That's acceptable, although it's very annoying. And now my opponent has 4 mana. 1 ring will obviously get forced. Key is annoying. So now my opponent still has 4 mana. Here's Monolith. Now my opponent has 5 mana. Or is it 6? Now my opponent has 6 mana. And my opponent can go turn 1 Coveted Jewel. What do I do if my opponent... Oh, Karn. That is definitely not something I want to play against. Let's Force of Will the Karn. Very annoying threat here. Because my opponent doesn't really invest anything with the key. Oh, crap. My opponent has still 4 mana. Wow. Wow, turn 1 Karn and the One Ring. That's amazing. That's such a good turn 1. Okay. I'm really getting to feel the heat here. Unclear if we can beat that. Opal. That's a lot of spells turn 1. And even Ancestral Recall? Oh, Grindstone. That's funny. Grindstone. Sure. Yeah, I guess I just take the turn here. I just thought about something that if my opponent had gone... That's a bad draw. If my opponent had gone Jewel, I could have stopped the draw 3, and then I could have stolen it, which would have been amazing. But that's not what happened, so... Is that what I'm... I was about to play that Time Vault, but maybe that's just wrong. My opponent has not many cards in hand. I don't want to play the Time Vault because my opponent can copy it with Metamorph. That's the reason. Okay. So if my opponent copies that with Metamorph, they have infinite turns. We don't want that. Now our out is our opponent drawing Coveted Jewel, you know, within the top 3 cards of the deck as their only gas alongside some mana sources, and then I can Doorkeeper Thrall to steal it and get back into the game. That's how I win this game. Opponent draws 2 cards. If my opponent just goes Painter, I'm just dead. So let's see. Yeah, that's game over. Because... Yeah, that's game over. Okay, so we get milled out here turn 2 by a nasty draw. Looks like a fun deck, though. So against a deck like that, we actually want the plows as well for Painter, which is incredibly annoying. Graveyard Hate is not good. Needle is good. Portable Hole is good. Lavinia is good. Dress Down combos. I think I can cut the Tinker. I don't think that would be the end of the world. Deafening Silence. Maybe isn't that good if my opponent is not on, you know, Paradoxical Outcome? What if I want, you know, a couple of plows, a couple of traps? I like that card. Maybe I cut, like, the Reflexes. The thing about the Reflexes is my opponent is not putting as many creatures on the battlefield, so this is probably fine. Do I have anything else I can trim for the 4th plow, or maybe 3 is okay? I think I like 3. Okay, well, I have some good tools to beat this deck between, you know, Lavinia, the Bauble, kind of the same effect. Now I also have traps to, you know, hedge for a broken turn 1. I don't think they will have many answers for, you know, my game plan of Bit Fast Dreadnought, but who knows? So this hand is obviously a keeper. I'm trying to think about what to do here. I'd probably just go turn 1 Curie. Also, I can respond to the Dreadnought ETB by... Yeah, this is awesome. So, let's see. Land, Mox, Curie. And then I can go turn 2 Dreadnought, respond to the sacrifice ability, activate Curie, and then draw 12 cards, get in for 12 damage, right? Exile another has a copy of exile creature, except it has whenever this creature deals combat damage, a player draw cards equal to its base power. Base power. I hope that's the base power. So here's Urza's Saga, which I'm not gonna jinx it, but that is not the most explosive card you can have turn 1 when it comes to, you know, mana. So can we please just play something beatable and I'll get to draw 12 cards? Come on, do it for Patrick. Exile another non-token artifact creature you control. Becomes a copy. And then it's 12/12. Yeah, that should definitely work. Time Vault pass. I accept. Come on, opponent. Wow. Okay, Time Vault plus key pass. So now I have to look at my deck. What am I drawing towards? Needle. Is that it? Am I trying to find the needle or I'm dead? Poof. Oswald does not do much here. I think developing the saga is going to be great because I need to draw. And I need to find this this Mox plus needle. Okay. So I guess did I mess up, or is that not a synergy, or did I mess up? This is going to be a cool No, wait. Sacrifice any number. Oh, yeah, right. So I just don't do it. I, for some reason, thought I was forced to do it. Okay, that's cool. So now I draw 12 cards, but it has to be Mox I guess Mox Portable Hole would have done it as well. Yeah, I just die here, right? I find the Portable Hole, but I don't find the Mox. That's cool. That's super cool. Getting in for 12, drawing 12 cards, not finding the Mox plus Portable Hole or Lotus plus Portable Hole or Mox plus Needle, which would put me in a pretty good position. Funnily enough, I didn't find a Forcible here either, so even if I shut that down, I can still lose to whatever else the opponent's doing. But, that would have been so sick. But I guess turn 2 infinite turns. Yeah, we just got, our opponent had top tier draws, and our deck was not able to compete here. Well, that's just how it goes. No matter which deck you're playing, but especially when you're playing something a bit more rogue. All right, we are now 0-2. Let's play one more match before we wrap up this video. Quick moment here to shout out all the awesome Barons over at my Patreon. I'm slowly but surely building a nice community over there, and I wouldn't be without it, and I wouldn't be anywhere without you guys' support. So each and every one of you, thank you so much. And now, let's get back to the games. All right, this is round 3 of this awesome donation decklist video. I'm playing Banned Lurrus, courtesy of Patrick S. And it's funny, because we've gotten to do some super cool things, but we don't have any wins to show for it, which is unfortunate. Okay, this Ponder finding 3 mana sources is actually quite good, I feel like. So I have Lavinia for Force Pitch if anything bad happens turn 1. And then what else am I doing here? I guess I just want these cards regardless in this order, so we can kind of figure that out later. Fiddlebender going for... Yeah, what does Fiddlebender even do in this spot? Unclear. Opponent with the double Mox, not bad. So what's more, I'm guessing I'm playing against Grixis. My opponent is now holding up Hull Breacher. So the thing is, Lavinia is quite good against that deck, but that's my only card for Force of Will, so I feel like I should do like this. I assume that card is going to get killed if my opponent has removal. Interestingly enough, this is the second time I wish I had a key in my deck. Excuse me. It's the second time I wish I had, a manifold key in my deck. This is not good. I'm really playing against, like, top tier, turn 2, infinite turns, turn 2, mill you out, turn 2, tinker. It's been really tough when it comes to, like, my opponent's draws. Those have just been through the roof, and it's been very hard to compete with. I think that's pretty important when you play any deck, for that matter. And then if you just get, Ancestral, Tinker, like all of that stuff, then you just need to, have that in the back of your mind when you're evaluating. So it looks like my opponent is going to Tinker. They don't have mana up for Pyroblast. I don't think that deck plays Fluster or Pierce. This is kind of a forced play. If my opponent has Force of Will, I mean, that's how it goes. My opponent does not. I feel like we play on here. I can find a 1-drop artifact. And here comes a Bowmaster with the, with the mana left over. Bowmasters is not that great against my deck. So now what I could do is, and I actually should do that. Yeah, I should turn my Ruby that I'm drawing here into Portable Hole and mana deny my opponent. That is quite strong because it kills a Mox and it makes Academy, a blank, so pretty decent. And then I'm going to develop my Time Vault here because why not? So now I'm in a situation where if I have nothing to do, I can bring back Lurrus, I can grind a little bit with Oswald and my zeros, turn them into, a little bit of Needle, a little bit of Soul Guide, and try and build some Pillow Fort. Also, I don't know if my opponent's on a Breach deck or simply just like some blue-black Tinker deck. Wow, my opponent concedes here, and this is funny because this is off the back of my opponent's belief that I can just Sapphire into a key and win the game, but we know that's not the case, which is quite questionable. But I also understand that the ratio right now is with having 4 alchemists, and there's some kind of conflict there. Okay, so we basically only saw blue-black Tinker, so I'm thinking this is not a traditional Breach deck. That deck will not be able to fit a card like Bowmaster. Could be more of a, a Sheldred, Bowmaster, Time Twister type deck. I think I like the Plows. That's kind of a recurring theme here. Vintage is pretty creature-centric these days. Legolas's Quick Reflexes. That does fill the whole board with Alchemist, but I don't think trimming that card is going to be bad. What else are we looking at here? I like the Hole. I like the Ponders. Needle is bad, or at least, unconfirmed right now. We can cut Soul Guide, and we can actually also cut Vexing Bauble. But what does that do for the Oswald? Then now I can only find Portable Hole and Dreadnought as 1-drops. So I don't have like a default 1-drop right now. Is that a problem? I think the problem about these two is that if my opponent's on a Bowmaster, Sheldred, Hullbreacher type deck, those are just quite bad. So I'm actually gonna feel happy about this and submit. All right, let's see if we can keep up the winning streak here. I liked how that game played out. Force of Willing a Tinker, always a delight. Okay, well, this hand I'm going to keep, and I'm going to lean on that Ponder to get me to the promised land when it comes to mana sources. Playing this is actually a cool, change of pace for me. It's quite refreshing to play something with more emphasis on fun rather than, cutthroat winning. So let's think about this Needle. What is my opponent going to name? Is my opponent just going to name something like, I don't even know. If they mention, if they name Time Bolt, I mean, sure, go for it. Okay, so name's Fiddlebender. That makes sense. That's like the engine card that on paper should make the deck tick, right? Ooh, so you're saying there's a chance. Turn 1 Lavinia. This is something that I'm pretty sure I've never done this before. That's always been something I talked to my friend about where, oh yeah, people just, draw the Pearl or draw the Sapphire or draw the Petal and go turn 1 Lavinia, and it's so devastating. And here it's, him to Torak, so we definitely take that. So now the Time Twister is confirmed. I guess, well, my opponent showed Bowmaster, so I guess that's just to be expected. Here comes Psychic Frog. Gotta love that card. Good thing I came prepared. I didn't think about that card, you know, when I sideboarded, but it obviously makes sense. Ponder first or plow first. The reason to plow first is if my opponent does not have the Force of Will, then I can ponder with that in mind. Where the other way around, if I ponder first, I kind of have to hedge against my opponent having exactly Force. But since I drew the second plow, I can just, ponder into a white source, or try to do that at least. So I think this order is better. Because now I know for sure that that card is gone. Yeah, Tinker Land is, under normal circumstances, amazing cards to see, but I actually don't think they are here. I can set up some slow scenario where I go end step, dress down, my turn, Tinker a Dreadnought. That's not terrible. I guess I develop a land here and think about that for next turn. Setting up a good brainstorm. That would be funny. End step, dress down. Tinker up the Dreadnought. Okay, my opponent with the Wasteland here. That is totally acceptable. My hand is well set up, I will say. So this changes a little bit on my brainstorm timing, I believe. I think I have to pass here and then cast brainstorm in response to the Bowmaster, or simply just on upkeep before my opponent gets a draw. I think that's okay. Ooh, okay. So Urza Saga is a game plan. So maybe I just put away my, let's say, individually weakest cards, being Reflexes and Tinker. Let my opponent play. So my opponent did not have Bowmasters last turn. That is good to think about. So now I can go... I should probably go Savannah, because I have Pearl. Draw. So now maybe I go develop Urza Saga, put Lurrus to hand. I think that's pretty nice. I'm trying to put pressure on my opponent on numerous axes. I will say it's kind of scary that I don't have a Force Will available. Here's Vampiric Tutor, and I don't think I can... Huh. My opponent did not play a land last turn, did they? Guess that's going to be the tiebreaker decision for me here. Let's see. Did play Wasteland. No, did they? I play Flooded Strand, pass. My opponent plays Wasteland. My opponent passed it. Okay, my opponent did not play a land last turn, so I'm going to let this resolve, hoping they go for Ancestral Recall. Unfortunately, I already clicked the misstep, so in theory, my opponent could be tipped off here, but I'm hoping my opponent is in such a low resource situation that going for Ancestral Recall is a lock. Logic obviously being here that Vampiric Tutor is card disadvantage, so if I'm going to fight, I might as well fight over the Ancestral if I'm 100... Well, I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm pretty certain that that's going to be their target. This is just better. Yeah, now this is a 2-for-1, 0 mana 2-for-1, which is obviously amazing. And my opponent does not have counter backup, then they would have fought. So this is where things can get a little iffy for my opponent. I feel like this is a good time to ponder. Ponder a land, can still make its construct. Black Lotus. Is Black Lotus a card? Yeah, I kind of force the issue here. I like that. So Black Lotus. Lurrus. Replay Black Lotus. Oh, wow. I mean, sure. I'm not scared of that. So now I fetch now because of I don't want my opponent to draw Wasteland. I can go get Tropical because I have a Tundra in hand. Wow, yeah, I feel like my opponent should just force the misstep and move on with life there. This is going to be too deep of a hole for my opponent, unless they draw something like magic, like, you know, Tinker, land, or something. So let's make some constructs. And tutor up. Well, funnily enough, I'm one off from dress downing my Dreadnought, but I guess that's terrible with the boys in play, so I guess we shouldn't count that as anything. Mox Pearl, really unexciting, but that's how it goes sometimes. I already drew my Brainstorm. I could draw Ponder, have white mana up, so let's go Misty. Attack for 4. My opponent's at 13. I have the Bowmaster Shenanigans shut down. Time Twister has already gotten exiled. Long goodbye. That's funny. I mean, you got me. Let's see if we can follow up with something here to turn up the heat on my opponent. Oof. I've really been drawing a lot of lands in these clutch scenarios. And I don't think this deck is running too many mana sources. It's mainly just to say that if you're playing a rogue deck and you're also running a bit poorly, and let's see if the opponent drew the Tinker. Okay, they did not draw the Tinker. Now if my opponent flashes in Hull Breacher, I'll plow it before blocks to keep up the pressure. Time Walk is probably a fine card. It's probably like a deal 3, draw 1. I could get negated here. Don't really care. Force negation it is. Pass. Tinker is still relatively dangerous, I'll say. Land is not dangerous. If my opponent fetches that land, it takes a turn off the clock, which I like. Here's Dreadnought, which is, ironically, a card that kills my own board. Oh, it's so funny. I guess making the 12-12 is going to be better against some things. Pass. If my Dreadnought gets killed here, I'm going to feel a bit silly. And also, I just gave my opponent a quote-unquote free reason to go get a Surveil land. Okay, fortunately for me, they don't play Surveil land. So it's now or never for the opponent. Let's see if they get there. Killing the Dreadnought would make this kind of cool. Okay, well, we got one here at the end. It was super fun. This game was a wild one. I feel like my opponent should have fought over the Ancestral. I don't think they had the luxury to say, yeah, I'm fine playing from 2 lands and the Force Soul in hand. I don't think that was a luxury they were allowed to take. They need to get things going there and trust that their deck has, you know, higher card quality than mine. But it was pretty cool. Let's go and check out the deck list, and I can kind of maybe remember more stuff here. So what I will say is the problem with Vintage, especially, is when you have cards that are sometimes dead in your hand, like a Dreadnought with no help, reflexes against a non-creature deck, like, you know, a Thrall with no Dreadnought, or no, I guess Thrall has quite a bit, you know, crossover as a disruptive hate bear against the format. Like, well rested without a creature in play. That's mainly it. I think aside from that, you just play, you know, solid cards. I think Fiddlebender is actually quite cool as an engine card. And then it kind of the challenge is how big do you build the toolbox, so to speak? What is needed and what is, you know, not needed? What's good flexibility and what's overthinking things? I love the Lavinias as, you know, part blue cards, and to have blue cards enough for Force Will, part disruptive hate bear, part protecting my own stuff. I love that. Didn't get to do anything cool with a Phaedo Alchemist, but you know, it's a play off a land mox, which I like a lot. That's something I've talked about for ages. Land mox and then have a powerful play. I love that. Sideboard, I think, covers, you know, the most angles. I think I would probably think about stuff like Consign to Memory, Steel Sabotage, Annul, that kind of card, where you get a little bit more game against people registering Mishra's Workshop. The Tinker looked a bit sus at various stages, and the fact that we are not running a 1-mana key, that is just, I don't know, could be correct, could be wrong. It came up a few times, and I even got a concession because of the threat of that card, which was funny. It got me to think about old times with, you know, Burning Wish Tendrils, Cunning Wish, Berserk, and stuff like that. So all in all, this was awesome. I also got to draw 12 cards and lose the game. So all in all, incredible experience. Really, really fun. I haven't done stuff like this ever. As I said, this is my absolute first donation video. And yeah, this definitely did not disappoint. I'm always happy to go for challenges, like, you know, play a deck where people have to read half of the cards into, you know, established tier 1 decks. That's just super cool. And with that being said, speaking about super cool, today has been awesome. Thanks so much, Patrick, for this deck. I highly enjoyed playing it, and you definitely are going to do better than me playing the deck, so keep working on it, and I'll see you back on the channel next time. Bye, guys.